when you see utilization of energy, so energy is released from exergonic process, and then again energy will be utilized for endergonic process. Energy, the main energy currency is ATP, but in addition to ATP, there are also production of high energy compound. Other high energy, ATP is also a high energy compound, but we call this is like money, this is like currency. Okay, this is like currency, so it can be utilized by our body. It is like gold and silver, this type of thing. So it is also expensive. But what happens with HEC, high energy compound? This is called HEC, means high energy compound. So HEC is produced from this exergonic process. How? We have seen one reaction. If I can give you one example, from pyruvate, if you can remember, from pyruvate, what is synthesized here? Acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl, and then there is high energy sulfur bond here with acetyl and coenzyme A. This is acetyl coenzyme A. And what is released here? CO2 and production of NADH from NAD. And this reaction, this reaction is catalyzed by PDH. And similar type of reaction, if you can see similar type of reaction, you will also find in Krebs cycle. When you see alpha ketoglutarate, when it converts into succinyl coenzyme A. Succinyl coenzyme A. Here also you can see the addition of coenzyme A. Coenzyme A is vitamin B5. And then this is catalyzed by alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. And the same thing will be produced. NADH will be produced like this from NAD, and CO2 will be released. So you can see this, both compounds are high energy compound. And we have seen why high energy compound, because we have seen at this stage the production of what? We have seen the production of from succinyl coenzyme A. If you can remember, from succinyl coenzyme A, in Krebs cycle, what happens? This reaction is succinyl thiokinase. This is catalyzed by thiokinase. Succinyl thiokinase. Here, what we see is production of GTP. Production of GTP from GDP. And this succinyl coenzyme will convert into succinate. And here release of coenzyme A. SH, coenzyme A. Now, why is there production of energy? There is production of energy because of this high energy bond is present in the coenzyme A and succinyl. And the same way, this acetyl coenzyme A. Actually, this acetyl coenzyme A also has high energy compound bond, and this succinyl coenzyme A also has high energy. Now, so, and this here is high energy compound. So this both are high energy. Acetyl coenzyme A. This acetyl coenzyme A here, and this succinyl coenzyme, I have proved this. Why high energy? Because a production of ATP because of this high energy compound. So these are high energy compound. High energy compound are produced also because of this exergonic process. You can see high energy compound production and NADH production. Here also you can see succinyl coenzyme, high energy compound production plus NADH production. So because of this exergonic process, high energy compound is being produced. And this acetyl coenzyme A is now utilized to, you can see the acetyl coenzyme A will be utilized to form, coenzyme A is utilized to form this citrate in citric acid cycle. And I told you citrate synthase is an endergonic process because the ATP energy that is from this high energy compound will be utilized to form this citrate. So this not only not only ATP, these are all, you can see, in addition to release of ATP, there is release of high energy compound. High energy compound, I have given you example, coenzyme A containing compounds are high energy compound. Any reaction starts with utilization of high energy. In biochemistry, energy coupling, this is energy coupling. I have already discussed this process of production of energy from catabolic process and utilization by anabolic. This is called energy coupling. We have already done this. Now occurs when energy requiring and the energy yielding reaction. This is energy yielding reaction, endergonic process or energy requiring process. Share a common intermediate, that is ATP. And in such process, in addition to utilization of ATP, there is also utilization of high energy compound. As we have seen, the synthesis of citrate. Synthesis of citrate utilizes a high energy compound, acetyl coenzyme A. Synthesis of GTP in Krebs cycle, we have seen from succinyl coenzyme A to succinate. Utilize this high energy bond between coenzyme and succinyl. So this is how, see, this is what I want to prove is that, so this is the reaction. Here is acetyl coenzyme, not this. This is not the reaction. So what I want to prove is that this coenzyme A are high energy compound. And these are not utilized as currency, but they actually stimulate the endergonic process. And that is the important significance of high energy compound. So let's talk about few high energy compound in this session. So this is the pathway you can see and go and see yourself. I have described many things about this. So these are fade, and fade condition is related to, fade condition is related generally to anabolism, and fasting condition is related to catabolism. That is what I want to show here. And you go and study yourself. And anabolism except glycolysis. During fade condition, only one catabolic process happens, that is glycolysis. During fasting condition, only one anabolic process happens, that is gluconeogenesis. So you can see from this, they are related to Krebs cycle. Both are related to Krebs cycle. Gluconeogenesis is related to the purpose, I told you, purpose of this whole Krebs cycle switch to gluconeogenesis during fasting condition, and purpose of this Krebs cycle is to serve glycolysis during well-fed condition in liver. And then after this, what will happen? This NADH will go electron transport chain, then energy will be produced. This ATP will be produced. This is the picture showing all pathway together. Now, exergonic process reaction happens in our body, but it does not burn out. You already know. Why? Because multi-step and regulated process. You know it. We have already done. We have also done this question. So let's talk today about high energy compound. So this is what. So these are high energy compound. This is pyrophosphate. Any ATP is also a high energy compound, but this is this we call it currency. This is a very highly used high energy compound. Other high energy compound are acyl phosphatase. For example, we have seen at this stage 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, when it converts into 3-phosphoglycerate. So there is production of what? ATP. So this is a high energy compound. And that is why it is producing ATP. Now, enol compound, phosphoenol pyruvate. You know, from phosphoenol pyruvate, pyruvate is formed, and from at this step also there is production of ATP. So these are two steps. This is also done. Reaction is done by kinase. Which kinase? Phosphoglycerate kinase. This is done by PEP kinase, pyruvate kinase. So these two reactions are part of glycolysis. These are high energy phosphate. So you can see this they fall into group of acyl phosphate. These fall into group of enol phosphate, and there are thigh esters. So these thigh esters are coenzyme A containing high energy compound that we have seen producing ATP in Krebs cycle. So acetyl Succinyl coenzyme is also example. Succinyl coenzyme A produce ATP in Krebs cycle, and acetyl coenzyme A drives a part of anabolic energy requiring process, that citrate synthase process in Krebs cycle. And I told you cycle means cycle combine both. One is in the endergonic process and then exergonic process. So endergonic and exergonic process both will combine a pathway.
Sorry, can I ask a question, sir?
Yes, tell me.
So will that mean that glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate in the glycolytic pathway that gives rise to 2-NADH, which is equivalent to 5-ATP, is also a high energy compound?
Yes, you actually, I am happy you actually asked a very good question. 3-phosphoglycerate. Phosphoglycerate. If you don't understand, you can't answer. That means you understood. So see, that is a very good question. I appreciate it. So what is high energy compound? When I call high energy compound, the compound having a high energy bond, okay? High energy bond. Hydrolyzation of that bond will release energy. Did you get this?
Yes, sir.
Here what will happen is, here is removal of hydrogen group. Here is removal of hydrogen group. So there is removal of hydrogen group, NADH. So we don't we don't call it high energy compound, but potentially it is energy carrying compound, though it is energy carrying compound, but we don't call it high energy compound, because in order to have a high energy compound means high energy, the compound containing high energy bond. Did you get this?
Yes, sir.
Like in ATP, you will see 3-phosphate. These are high energy bond. So when we call compound, we refer to bond. That's very good. Thank you. You asked a very nice question. So we don't call it as such high energy compound, but energy rich compound. So high energy compound means high energy bond. Compound means bond. So that is a good. Now, so you will see everywhere there is high energy bond is there. That is why we call it high energy compound, and that immediately catalyze the anabolic reaction. That actually provide energy from this bond. Anabolic reaction is catalyzed. Now phosphocreatine, we will see this phosphocreatine is storage form of ATP in muscle. So phosphocreatine, it will react with ADP, and directly transfer phosphate, high energy phosphate group to ADP, and ATP will be formed. Now others are, these are also very important. We have already seen CAMP, cyclic AMP. So this is also second messenger. And this SAM is of very important. So these are the few compounds that are important. What I mean to say that any reaction that starts with a very high, starts with a high energy compound. Energy from this compound will actually provide energy from the bond in this compound will provide energy to the reaction. For example, synthesis of citrate will provide energy from acetyl coenzyme. So ATP synthesis provide energy from this. And this SAM, let's talk a little bit about SAM, as this is very important compound. We will require this a lot later. So I will talk about the SAM. So you can see the energy released from this compound like this. So phosphoenol pyruvate, when bond is broken, 14.8 kilocalorie energy per mole. 1 mole is equal to 6.022 into 10 to the power minus 23 molecules, like that. So this number of molecule, when I call mole, means a number of bunch of molecules. So that bunch of molecule will release 14.8. Minus sign denotes, I have already told you, it denotes release of energy. So 14.8 kilocalorie energy is released. Now you can see, compare this amount of energy with ATP. Here ATP, you can see about half of the energy is actually released when ATP is hydrolyzed. 1 phosphate bond is hydrolyzed. That is why from this phosphoenol pyruvate, it is very easy to form a ATP to synthesize a substrate level phosphorylation. So you can see this. So you can see when one ATP is synthesized, I have told you some energy are released. So about 50% of energy is released in environment. So 50% energy is only utilized from this breaking of this bond. Now other bond you can see here also ATP is synthesized in, and from this when you hydrolyze the phosphate group, the energy released 11.8. You can see, and then SAM, because SAM is a high energy compound, when you break the bond between methyl, methionine and this nucleoside, so 10 kilocalorie. That is why this is very important compound. I will talk about this. I just started this slide. So you can compare these all. So these are the energy released when you break the bond in these compounds. So when you break the bond in cyclic AMP, phosphate bond, you will get this. So cyclic AMP is short of this AMP. So what is there? So there is phosphate group here attached. And this same phosphate group is attached to its own molecule, hydroxy group. So this is called cyclic. Phosphate make a cyclic. That is why this is called cyclic AMP. Okay? That is why this is called cyclic AMP. And breaking of that bond will release 12 kilocalorie energy. So these are the important high energy compound molecules. Now let's talk about this SAM. SAM is very important. SAM, you can see SAM, this is methionine amino acid. This is amino acid. What is this called? S-adenosyl methionine. This whole group is AD. This is adenine. Adenine. Base, you know base adenine? Adenine. Do you know the base adenine?
Yes, sir.
It is a purine. Purine with one amino group. This is adenine. Adenine attached on ribose is adenosine. So with this adenosine at the 5' carbon group, what is attached is this is amino acid methionine, an essential sulfur containing amino acid. So you can see this is amino group and acid. That is why this is amino acid. To this sulfur group of this amino acid, this carbon is bound. Because of this, what will happen? This sulfur will have positive charge. And this is the heart of this molecule. Because of this bond become weak. And this bond is very high energy bond. And this, because of this methyl can be easily transferred to any molecule. Easily transferred to any molecule. So that is why this SAM is called active methyl donor. So remember, this is very important concept. We will require this concept after in MD2 especially. We will require this concept because synthesis of epinephrine, that is your hormone of your body that is secreted from adrenal gland, is adrenaline or epinephrine. That requires this SAM. And creatine, that we have discussed here, creatine phosphate. Somewhere we discussed here, creatine phosphate. This phosphocreatine. This also, synthesis of creatine also require this SAM. And see, creatine, if creatine is not synthesized in our body, it's very difficult for our muscle to survive. So creatine synthesis require this, epinephrine synthesis require this SAM. So that is why SAM is very important. This is a transferable methyl group. So remember this SAM, a very important compound. This is a nucleotide. Now, you already know ATP is an energy carrier. You just understand this. 3 phosphate groups are there. You already know 3 phosphate groups are there. And then this phosphate, when you hydrolyze this phosphate, 7.3 kilocalorie energy will be released from at least first and second ATP. So you can see the phosphate release here, from here. So from when you hydrolyze ATP, 7.3. When you hydrolyze ADP, how much energy? 6.6. When you hydrolyze this AMP, very less energy. So first 2 bond has very high energy. First this 2, this 7.3, 6.6 energy kilocalorie. So these 2 bond have very high energy. And third bond has 3 only, about 3 kilocalorie only. So these 2 bonds are very important for ATP. Now ATP storage form, I have already told you creatine phosphatase, creatine. So it is a storage form of ATP that is utilized by muscle, skeletal muscle, creatine, and brain also. Skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle and brain utilize creatine phosphate in the storage form of ATP. So vertebrate utilize creatine phosphate and invertebrate utilize the counterpart is called the equivalent molecule is called arginine phosphate. Arginine is an amino acid phosphorylated form of arginine phosphate. So these are ATP storage forms. So we have already done this. We have already understood this, how this exergonic, what is exergonic reaction, and how exergonic, we have compared this exergonic reaction that from glycolysis with this reaction, this flow of this. So this glycolysis, so from glycolysis energy is released because potential difference is between pyruvate and glucose. And release of energy. This energy is utilized for some purpose. Let's talk about this exergonic process, because we have till now, we are, don't lose your track, just understand we are discussing, we are talking about oxidation of glucose only. This is the last, second last class of the oxidation of glucose. In this class, we will talk about the whatever things here released, NADH that are released here. So all NADH released and FADH released here. So conversion of this FADH to water and ATP. We will talk about this only in this class. So this is done by electron transport chain. So today we will talk about electron transport chain. So how electron transport chain operates. All these three processes are they are coupled. They are actually, they function together. If you stop anyone, like if you stop electron transport chain, then what will happen? Whole process will stop. Whole process will stop. Because this process are coupled, NADH production, and this NADH production here, and FADH2 production is happening, and this product is actually flushed away by electron transport chain, ETC. And this electron transport chain flush away by production of H2O and what else? ATP. So what will happen if you inhibit this electron transport chain? If you inhibit this electron transport chain, what will happen? This will accumulate. This will accumulate. And you know, these are the inhibitor of both glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So this will also be inhibited. This will inhibit glycolysis and Krebs cycle both. So that way what will happen? The whole process will be chucked, the whole process will be blocked, stopped. So did you understand this whole concept?
Yes, sir.
That is why electron transport chain is tightly coupled with this oxidation process. These are oxidation process. So this is electron transport chain. Here in electron transport chain, phosphorylation happens. Phosphorylation happens. Okay, and this phosphorylation is coupled with this oxidation process. Oxidation process. That is why the combined whole reaction from this glucose to production of CO2 and then conversion of this NADH to ATP. The whole process in combined way, it is called oxidative phosphorylation. So don't take the things in individually. Combine them and see it a whole picture. If you see in a whole picture, whole context, put everything one place and see the whole context, then only you will really understand metabolism, and your metabolism will your understanding will make that concept very easy. You will easily memorize everything about your glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. But if you try to understand in isolated way, you cannot understand anything. So whole concept you can summarize is oxidative phosphorylation. So oxidation happens and then phosphorylation happens. Oxidation happens in the pathway and phosphorylation. These both are coupled. This is called oxidative phosphorylation. And there is some molecule that will actually uncouple this. We will talk about that. That are called uncoupler. So did you understand at this time what is oxidative phosphorylation?
Yes, sir.
So this is oxidative phosphorylation. So these are oxidation you can see, and there is production of energy. This whole conversion happens through oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation. And this oxidative phosphorylation is a biochemical terminology. You can see the oxidation and phosphorylation, and this is actually a called cellular respiration. So this is called cellular respiration. Utilization of oxygen for oxidation is called cellular respiration. Oxidation, this oxidation is called cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is nothing but oxidation. Ultimately, oxidation is utilized for phosphorylation. So oxidative phosphorylation is basically cellular respiration. And if you, glycolysis is also a cellular respiration, not only this whole process. If you take glycolysis, because some cells have only glycolysis. So cellular respiration is a broad term, okay? But that after glycolysis, whatever lactate is formed, that lactate will be converted again into glucose in liver. So if you see the whole reaction in total, there is conversion of this carbon, in the body, conversion of this glucose to CO2, H2O, and energy. And the whole process in the cell is oxidative phosphorylation. Cellular respiration, oxidation, and oxidative phosphorylation, they are very related. Cellular respiration is a broader term. And this oxidative phosphorylation happens only, this means an aerobic process. This means aerobic process. Oxidative phosphorylation is aerobic process. This refers to aerobic process. And this cellular respiration include both anaerobic and aerobic. Aerobic and anaerobic. Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so this is what picture from this fat also, ultimately fat will also oxidize during fasting condition, and so this picture is a combined picture. So this, don't put that picture in the context of liver, because in liver during fasting condition, fat, this acetyl coenzyme will not be metabolized. Most of the acetyl coenzyme will not be metabolized through citric acid. Rather, this will produce ketone body in fasting condition. That the acetyl coenzyme that is coming from fat, okay, and protein. But during fat condition, this acetyl coenzyme will be metabolized through citric acid. We are talking about fat condition. Let's stick to the fat condition. We will talk about this fasting condition after we finish this. In CVS system, we will talk about fasting condition also, fat plus both fasting condition. So this is whole metabolism. Let's go forward. Don't stick to this. Let's understand electron transport chain. So electron transport chain, as I have told you, what is electron transport chain? Right now, don't remember this picture. I will tell you one thing. So first, this is electron transport. What is electron transport chain? The chain is called electron, and the chain that transport electron. So this electron transport chain actually transport electron from NADH to oxygen. Do you agree with this?
Yes.
Yes.
NAD. Yes. Do you agree with this? Is there any problem?
No, sir.
Okay. So this transport electron from this to this, and the energy you know this. When electron, here you can see, when electron moves, what will happen is there will be light generation. So energy will be produced because of movement of this gas, and this energy will be harnessed as ATP. In short, just remember, this is the broad concept of electron transport. Very simple. Understand the thing in a very simple way. If you understand the thing in very simple way, you will understand in detail. Easily, you will easily understand things in detail, and you will memorize also. So this is the simplest way of electron transport. So you don't have to memorize right now. This is a concept. So when you what is the actually chain of electron transport? If you have to write, so this is complex. They are called complexes. This electron transport chain are made up of protein and some other protein and this organic compound, organometallic compound, protein and metal compound combined, this complex. So this complex has protein plus metal. And you know, protein plus metal. You know this wire. Do you know this copper wire? Copper wire. This copper wire has got this wire plus coating of non-conductor. Isn't it there on this copper wire? Don't you see?
Yes, sir.
The same way you can see in electron transport chain also. So there is this protein is forming like a wire, this cover, and at the center there are metal always. Metal are what? Iron. Iron are the metal. And at the last this is complex 1, this is complex 2. This is complex 2. Sorry, not complex 2. 1 and then 3, not complex 2. 1 and 3 and then complex 4. 1, 3, 4. Okay, and at 4 complex 4 has got iron as well as copper. So through this metal electron flows. Did you understand right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So you can compare this with this is electron transport chain. And see, between these complexes, complex 1 and complex 2, there are some intermediate. This intermediate here is called Q, and intermediate here is called cytochrome C. Cytochrome C. So between 1, 2, there is Q. Between 1, 3, there is Q. Between 3 and 4, cytochrome C. So this is the sequence of electron transport. Very simple. So did you understand what is the sequence? 1, 3, and 4. Okay.
Can you go over to this?
Yeah, I'm going over it. So this is the sequence of electron transport chain. 1, after 1 there is 3 and there is 4. 1, 3, 4. And between 1, 3 there is coenzyme Q. And then 3 and 4 there is C. Remember C and Q. 1 and 3 there is Q. 3 and 4 there is C. So did you memorize this?
Yes, sir.
1, 3, 4, between 1, 3 Q and 3, 4 C. So and can you correlate this electron transport chain with this copper wire? Count.
Yes, sir.
So you have to compare. So this electron transport chain is very similar to, very analogous to your copper wire that is wrapped with non-conductor. So non-conductor here is protein. So this is electron transport. This electron transport chain actually transport this electron from this NADH. This NADH electron transport this electron from NADH to oxygen. Why electron moves from this NADH to O2? Can anybody answer? Just try to answer. I don't expect answer, but if you can answer, I'll be happy.
Can you repeat the question?
Why electron moves from this NADH to oxygen?
To balance the ionic charge, because sodium, H.
NADH is like.
Yeah, NADH is positive and oxygen is negative. So.
Okay. Actually, subconsciously you have understanding, but terminology wise you are unable to say. I'll make it clear. Okay. So see, I'll tell you. So what is happening is this NADH is very low power to hold electron. Okay. And holding power of this electronegativity, you already know electronegativity of this oxygen is very high. So oxygen has very high capacity to hold electron. When these two are present here, so what will happen? This oxygen will kind of suck electron. It will try to pull electron from this NADH. Okay, by force. So electron will flow like this, and it will. This oxygen is like working as like sucking force. Sucking force for electron, And because it has very less capacity to hold electron, so this NADH will easily give this electron to these complexes. Through these complexes, electron will go there. Did you get this? Like the flowing of water, you can understand the flowing of water from this. Because this has more capacity to attract, that is why water flows. The same way electron flows from its, this is called redox potential. Low capacity. Redox potential means capacity to hold electron. Low redox potential to its high redox potential. So we use a terminology, the fancy term, redox potential. Redox potential is nothing but capacity to hold electron. So this oxygen has very high potential, very high power to hold electron in comparison to NADH. That is why electron moves like this. Okay, did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Why electron moves through this electron transport chain?
Yes, sir.
Now, so you understood. So we will compare. You must have studied about this electrochemical cell in your +2 level. So let's see this again, repeat it again. So what will happen generally when you react? So this zinc has got low electron holding capacity in comparison to copper. So what will happen when you put this zinc and copper in one vessel, in one flask? What will happen is this copper will take away electron from this zinc. When it is take away this electron from this zinc, then what will happen is this zinc, there will be a release of energy. Okay, you can see that snatching of this electron from this by copper. Copper will change in this CO2 plus will change into copper. And because of movement of this electron from this in the test tube, there will be production of energy. Energy will be in the form of heat. But the same thing, if you arrange like this, if you put a zinc in one vessel and manage a pathway to flow the electron, and you put the CO2 plus in other vessel, and you manage to exchange these minerals through these two vessels, what will happen? Electron will flow from this, because this copper has very high sucking capacity. So this copper will suck the electron. When electron flows like this, so when electron flows like this, what will happen is this electron will create electricity. And because of this electricity, there will be lighting of bulb. Did you understand this concept?
Yes, sir.
So don't you use the similar, see this concept to light your bulb to your like mobile. The light in the mobile is coming from this principle. Flow of electron is creating what? Electricity. That electricity is responsible for running of this mobile gadget. Did you get this?
Yes, sir.
Somewhere flow of electron is responsible for this. The same thing, actually exactly same thing happens in our body. Exactly same thing happens in our body. But see, exactly same thing happens in our body. Same type of electron movement happens from low redox compound to high redox compound, that is oxygen. From low redox compound to high redox compound. So this is only one part. So I'll show you other part. Let me not use this. So from this is electron transport 1, 3, and 4. From this NADH, this is low electron holding, low, let's say use this term, redox potential to high redox potential oxygen. So electron flow from this and electron will reach this. So, and because of this, electricity is produced in electron transport chain. So do you agree with me? Can you see the correlation between this and this?
Yes, sir.
Battery of your mobile and this electron transport chain, there are tiny cell. Cell means this cell, not this cell. This cell is the cell that is you use, battery. So these tiny cells are present in the mitochondria, like as electron transport chain. That is why we call mitochondria as powerhouse. So now, do you conceptually did you understand why do we call powerhouse? Powerhouse?
Yes.
Because electrical energy, and this electrical energy here, it is converted into light energy, but we harness this, our body harness this electrical energy in the form of ATP. So we will explain in whole topic, we will explain about this. So if you understood this, so you have understood whole electron transport chain. Now you can study yourself also, you can understand, but I will explain it also. I will also explain. Let's see. Now the topic will become very easy. So it's very easy. So ultimate reaction is, this is reactant. When we talk about chemistry, we have to write this is reactant. NADH and oxygen are reactant. Here, oxygen somewhere will be utilized. You already remember that picture. NADH and oxygen will be reactant. And then these are NAD plus and these are product. We will require this equation. Because reactant are a stimulator. And product are inhibitor. So remember this reactant NADH and oxygen, and product NAD plus O2. So this actually, these two will stimulate electron transport chain, these two will inhibit the electron transport chain. So we will require this. Now, so you already know what is oxidative phosphorylation. Don't you know? Oxidation, glucose to CO2. From oxidation, NADH is produced. This NADH to electron transport chain, ETC, ATP is produced. From ADP, this is phosphorylation, this is oxidation. That is why oxidative, the whole process of whole aerobic process is called oxidative phosphorylation. And what are the types of phosphorylation? Just tell me. One is oxidative phosphorylation. What are the other types of phosphorylation we have discussed till now?
Substrate level.
Great.
Phosphorylation.
Substrate level. Our body has only two types of phosphorylation, substrate level. And then what is the third type of phosphorylation that does not happen in our body? Because of that phosphorylation only we survive. That happens in plant. Okay. That phosphorylation is called
Photophosphorylation.
Okay, phosphorylation. Because photon is directly converted into ATP in plant. See, the plant. So that is why we have to be very grateful to the nature, to the plant. If you become, what I feel spirituality is, paying like your reverence to this whole nature. Because of you, what we survive. That is what spirituality is in scientific way.
Yes.
So, yes. So now you can understand this better. So photophosphorylation. This photophosphorylation is photon is captured. We depend on photon. These photons. So plant is actually serving us for our survival this way through this photophosphorylation. And then we do substrate level and oxidative phosphorylation. Now, energy from this downhill reaction of oxidation captured by this phosphorylation, this downhill reaction, glucose to CO2. This is called whole process is oxidative phosphorylation. Now you look, so you already know photophosphorylation, you know substrate level phosphorylation, you know oxidative phosphorylation. Let's talk about this. So oxidative phosphorylation. So you will understand when I right now when I talk about this, you will be confused. But see, just remember, I'll tell you sequence only. What will happen is chemical energy, that is glucose. From glucose, what will happen is glucose will convert to CO2. From this chemical energy, other chemical energy equivalent will be released. That is what is said, phosphorylation process. NADH is released. And from this NADH or FADH, what will happen is this will undergo electron transport chain, ETC. ETC is but nothing but electrical energy. I have already explained you. And then electrical energy, after what happens, there is a ATP synthase, F0, F1 complex. F0 and F1 complex. Actually, this will rotate like turbine. And that is why I have mentioned in mechanical energy. I will tell you, I will show you that. So this mechanical energy, then production of ultimately will be ATP. So this is the sequence of actually energy transformation. Just memorize for the time being. Chemical energy of glucose to FADH, other chemical energy, then electrical, mechanical, and then energy currency. So this is, you can see oxidation of glycolysis. Then this corresponds to phosphorylation here, this two, and then this is what is electron transport chain, electrical energy. So just for the time being, just memorize. You will see when you will understand this when you complete the electron transport. So electron transport chain happens in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Electron transport chains are present. So these are they just go through this. There are many other enzymes that are present in matrix. So go through this slide yourself. And ATP synthesis, you know, F0, F1 complex, it is called F0. Electron transport chain is made up of complex 1 to complex 4. I have only told you about complex 1, 3, and 4, and not about complex 2. So that I wanted to tell you. I'll tell you. There is some reason, that is why I did not tell you. So redox potential, you have already know ability to hold electron. You already know. I have already explained it nicely. So let's see this redox potential. Let's give a number to this redox potential. So if you give a number, negative numbers, more negative means least. So you can see this hydrogen has the least ability to hold electron. Then NADH has a bit more potential than this, but very less in comparison to oxygen. You can see oxygen has highest capacity to hold electron. So electron and this electron will flow like this. If you put this molecule together, electron will flow like this. So this NADPH has a bit more, a bit very less, very few more. It is non-significant actually. And then FADH has more electron holding capacity in comparison to NADH. Now this ubiquinone, Q enzyme Q, what I told you, it has got more ability to hold electron than this NADH. Now this complex 3 and complex 4 has then more electron holding capacity than this NADH and FADH. And this oxygen has highest electron affinity. So electron holding capacity, that is redox potential. That is why electron will flow like this. This is the region. This is the region electron will flow like this. This is complex 4, complex 3. This is the region QC. This is the region from NADH because NADH has very less affinity. So the electron will flow like this. That is why. So because of this redox potential. So understanding of this redox potential is important to understand it. And this redox potential will create a sucking capacity, motive force. So this is called electromotive force. So where do electron move? So this whole constant sucking force that is created because of this difference in redox potential is called electromotive force. This is created because of difference in redox potential. This is called electromotive force. EMF, this EMF drives the electron through electron transport chain. Now this is electron transport chain. So you already know this, don't you know? 2 oxygen. 2 oxygen, let's say right there. Don't you know this?
I do, sir.
NADH 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. You know. Now see, why I have not written complex 2 is because complex 2, there are 2 so electron from FADH. This complex 2 is for FADH2 and complex 1 is for NADH. And from NADH, this electron directly goes into complex 1 to complex 3 to 4. And from FADH2, this electron will go to complex 2. And then the same like complex 3 and 4. So did you understand the purpose? Why I did not write complex 2 there? Because this complex 1 is reserved for NADH and complex 2 is for FADH. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
So complex NADH moves through this complex 1. Now you can see. So just for the theoretical purpose, I have divided. In mitochondria, they are distributed a different way. They are distributed different way. But it is correct that this from FADH2, electron will move directly to complex 1, not to complex. Sorry, from FADH2, electron will move directly to complex 2, not to complex 1. It is for sure. Now, so see, we have already done this. Electron moves to complex 1 and from complex 1 to coenzyme Q and from this to complex 3, complex 1, 3, and then complex 4. In between complex 3 and 4, C. In between complex 1 and 3, Q. And here you can see between complex 2 and complex 3, the same thing you will notice here. Only you just remember complex 2 is 4 FADH2. And complex 2 is nothing but succinate dehydrogenase. Remember, I have already discussed this. And this electron moves from this complex 2 to complex 3. Again, the same thing. You replace the position of complex 1 with complex 2, the same thing. And from complex 3 to complex 4. And from complex 4, oxygen is actually, oxygen get electron at complex 4, like this. Yeah. And this hydrogen that is present here, it will react with this oxygen. Oxygen will get electron and it will convert into O2 minus, and this hydrogen will bind with this 2 hydrogen, and this will form water. So formation of water and consumption of oxygen happens at last stage. Did you understand? Not in the pathway, in electron transport chain only. Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just elaborating the same thing, what I told you. So this is a very easy topic. It will be easy if you understand the very nutshell thing, concept. Now we will again elaborate complex 1. So we are going to depth. We are not touching horizontal thing. We are going into depth. So complex 1, as I have told you, it's not new thing. Complex 1 has got what? Metal inside. That will form a Y. You can see metal inside. Can you see the metal inside in complex 1? Iron, sulfur, metal?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is metal inside. This is like copper wire. And after and this iron, sulfur is there. And you can see in this complex 3 also. There, complex 3, though I have not shown here iron, sulfur, it also has this iron, sulfur. In addition to this iron, sulfur, it has got cytochrome B and C. What is cytochrome is? Cytochrome is a heme containing. Iron is at the center and this is heme. Tetrapyral ring is there. This is cytochrome. This heme containing protein are called cytochrome. So these are got iron at the center. So this is iron containing. So you can see iron. These are like Y. So this heme containing protein. So electron flows through this iron to cytochrome C to complex 4. Now complex 4 has iron plus copper. Only complex 4 has got iron plus copper. Here you can see only iron in complex 1 and 3. Also here you will see iron only. Only complex 4 has got copper also. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So this is the whole electron transport chain. 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And this is this succinate dehydrogenase. That is why electron directly it extracts from succinate to FADH, and then from FADH to this. Now I have told you, when electron goes through this like this, so this is the flow of electron. From this electron, energy is produced. So energy is our body harness energy. How does our body harness energy? Do you know that? I'll tell you. So our body harness energy by pumping the proton. This is matrix of mitochondria. Okay, this is inner mitochondrial membrane, and this is outer mitochondrial membrane like this. So between two membrane, there is intermitochondrial membrane, and here proton are pumped because of this electricity. Because of this electricity, proton are pumped. Can you see proton being pumped here? Can you see?
Yes, sir.
So this proton you can see, complex 1, there are fixed number of proton that complex 1 will pump, complex 2 will pump, complex 3 and complex 4 will pump. See, the number of proton per 2 electron, that means per NADH, number of proton per NADH pumped by complex 1 is how much? How many? 4.
4.
Complex 3 you can see also 4, but complex 4 is 2. So remember, memorize this. How many proton are pumped by complex 1?
4.
Complex 3?
4.
Complex 4?
2.
2. And how many complex, this proton is pumped by complex 2?
None.
How many proton? No proton. This is very important. Complex 2 pumps no proton. No proton. Now I'll tell you one thing. 4 proton is equal to 1 ATP. So now you can calculate. So this 4 proton means 1 ATP. This 4 proton means 1 ATP. This 4 proton means, this 2 proton means half ATP. So how many ATP are produced from 1 NADH? From this
1/2.
2.5, 1, 1, 2, and this half, 2.5. Did you agree this? Did you understand this? How
Yes, sir.
from 1 NADH 2.5 ATP is produced? Now, from this fumarate, from this FADH2, see, from this FADH2, how many this proton are pumped? 4 means 1 ATP. This 2 means half ATP. So I have already told you how many ATP are produced from this 1 FADH2.
$1.5.
So this is how everything is correlated. Everything is correlated. Because of this flow of electron, it will pump more proton. That is why more ATP is produced. Now we will talk about how this proton pumping is related to ATP formation when we talk about complex 5. Because complex 5 is also called ATP synthesis. Okay, so today we will end our lecture here. Okay.
Sir,
Just tell me.
one more thing about the 1.5 in FADH2. What is that?
FADH2. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You can see here. Just tell me what was your answer? Question.
Yes. So how from the FADH2, how come it became 1.5?
Because see, from FADH2 electron goes direct to complex 2, and complex 2 does not pump any protons.
Oh, okay.
You got that?
Okay. Yeah. Because 1 minus 2.5 minus 1. No.
Yes, 1. Yes, 2.5 minus 1.
Yeah.
Yes. You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
2.5 Okay. So this is the answer. So this is whole electron. Just understand this. Now next class, so we will go a bit faster. We will go directly to electron ATP synthesis. Okay, synthesis of ATP, because we have already explained nicely these all things.